A shout out to Wally, just this amazing spinal cord injury community looking out for each other. Amen. So I'm wondering, on that note, with these gifts, if you will, coming your way, were there certain hopes, Larry, or expectations that you had in the early days of this trial?
I was just hoping the whole time that I got the drug. I really didn't know what was going to happen. I was going there in hope of receiving the real drug because I really didn't know what would happen if I didn't get the drug. Mm-hmm. So, I just had my fingers crossed. I pushed as hard as I could. There was a gym in my hotel, so I started utilizing that as well as the therapy that they were performing with me at Shirley Ryan.
So you would get a drug through an injection. What part of the body was being injected?
It was in the belly, around the belly button and fatty tissue there. You could also opt for it in the back of the arm above your tricep. And because I didn't have anybody else there with me, Monday to Friday, I received the drug in-house. But on the weekends, they were kind enough to send a nurse out to my room at the hotel to give me the injections on Saturdays and Sundays.
Mm-hmm. And then with that injection, you're mentioning also came some rehab that was provided by the NervGen team. What did that rehab consist of?
The rehab was on a 3-day rotation. Day 1 would be on a treadmill. Day 2 would be overground walking, which it's like a painted track on the floor, and they put a harness on you, and you can either use a walker, ski poles, or just try to balance and walk, as long as it was walking on the ground. And then day 3 was hand and arm exercises. You always warmed up with an arm bike for, say, I think 15 minutes. And then they wanted to see what you could do with your hands, say, puzzles, board games, things like that.
What kind of puzzles and board games?
So your typical puzzle with, X amount of pieces, just to get you used to pinching and moving your fingers. And one of the games was Operation. So you would have to use those little tweezers to try to grab things. And then they would have booklets that they give you that maybe you have to try opening and closing a zipper or buttoning things or maybe screwing little nuts onto bolts.
And were you able to do any of those things before the trial?
I was, but I didn't know how well or proficient that I would be at those things because ever since my injury, I basically just sat back and didn't really use my hands much. And so, without fast forwarding too much, but I think that really opens the door. What did you find during the 4 months or since the trial ended? Were any changes in, for instance, the buttoning or the zipping or the operations game or the playing any other game, basically using your hands, your pincer fingers? So what's odd is it's very deceiving the way I progressed with my body, my legs, and my hands. It wasn't a drastic, quick change. It was a slow, gradual change to where I was able to improve with using my finger dexterity or the walking, my gait, or the, how my spasticity in my legs started to go away. It happened. It was so subtle that I really didn't notice it. But it did happen. It did. What does it look like now? Because you have been finished with the trial, not a full year, but close to it. So if you went in April and it's a 4-month trial, that would put you into July, and here we are in June, so almost coming up on a year. What do you notice now?
A good way to put it is, I would say it gave me the foundation of having the ability to keep improving. With the spasticity going away, with my fingers able to move a little bit better, and my legs just able to walk. I just kept at it, kept walking, kept working out. And today, less than a year later, from when I left, like I said, with a walker, I was walking a couple hundred feet. And about a month ago, I took my rollator walker out and I walked just over a mile.
Wow. What do you make of that?
It's great. Each time I go out, I try to either improve my time or improve my distance or both. I can now get on a rowing machine again. I can't use it quite as well as before my injury, but at least I can use it. The treadmill, I could get on a treadmill for 45 minutes now, no problems. I don't need a harness. It's a little shaky getting up and getting down, but once the legs get moving, it's I think I have a gait of walking on a treadmill or on the street of somewhere between 1 and 1.5 miles per hour, which at the beginning, when I started on the treadmill there, I was at like 0.6 miles per hour. I think I achieved a max of 0.7 miles per hour when I had left Shirley Ryan. So effectively doubling the speed of my gait since I've left there.
Yeah. Was there any discussion while you were there that you would see potentially functionality increases months or years after the drug? And I understand completely the answer could be no, because we didn't know if I had the placebo or not. But was there any discussion of that in the hypothetical for those who get the drug, they're anticipating this, or is this all brand new?
Yeah, it's all brand new. It seemed like everybody that worked with me, Celine, Tim, and Kat, who were all amazing, they really didn't know anything. They were just told, okay, take them here, do this, record this. And I talked to them about things, and they said, we really don't know. We know what you know, and we're just here to help.
Yeah. Yeah, so the team, not just remaining neutral, but being kept in the blind purposefully for the efficacy of a scientific study, you found to be very authentic, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. Were there others in the cohort whom you befriended or got to know, in addition to Wally, who saw you and then offered you his second power chair? Were there others?
I briefly met Stacy, who had arrived just before I left. And there was also someone else by the name of Anthony. Anthony was also a resident in my hotel. Stacy was in a different hotel, and Wally lived locally, probably about 45 minutes away. So I didn't really talk with any of them for long periods. And, looking back, I thought everybody that I met there, I should have taken their contact information, because moving forward should be really important. But since then, a bunch of us have found each other and have connected with a group chat via text and share our experiences and whether or not we found out we actually got the drug or were placebo, which we all found out just a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, been about 2 weeks now. So what is it, if you're willing to share, are you all discussing in this group that might be of interest for their experiences with the trial?
Not too much in regards to our experiences in the trial, but how we are managing to navigate moving forward, trying to acquire expanded access, especially for those that found that they did indeed receive the actual drug, and those that were received a placebo, as to what they're going to do and how they are going to get the actual drug as well. So we're all trying to connect and share information to see how we can help each other moving forward. A few people, one or two people, I would say, did, have a positive experience and found that they did really well while they were there and improved.
During the 4 months.
Correct. Yes.
So this expanded access that would be made available this fall, the group, have you found that most of those who receive the placebo wish to move forward with the expanded access?
The people that received the drug will be getting the expanded access. There's I think 3 that I know of. Basically, just have to find a doctor that's willing to move forward and say, I got your back, and I will do what I can to try to get you the expanded access, which is more of the drug that you had already received.
Is that because the drug, the dosage of the drug that you all received was a low dose, or what's your understanding of the dosages?
So that's a good question, and that's something that I haven't found out yet. I don't know if the people that are getting the expanded access are going to receive a greater dose, what the frequency, by which means it is going to be administered. I haven't found out any of those details yet, and I thought I was anxious waiting to find out if I was a placebo, received a placebo, or received the actual drug. That was very nerve-wracking, especially from all the buzz that everyone else that didn't go to the trial was kept asking questions that I didn't know the answers to.
Yeah, well, I'm wondering on the emotional and psychological impact of what this trial, and knowing that you got the drug that had showed efficacy. What's the emotional and psychological impact on you of participating in this cutting-edge clinical trial?
I can only say it's profound. Like I said, getting to where I am now was a very slow, gradual change. But, now that I am where I am, I just want to keep getting better. I want to keep working hard. And, if it takes another 3-6 months until I get the drug, I want to be the best man that I can be when I start receiving the drug again. I'm still in decent shape, good athletic condition. I don't sit around and eat all day. I'm exercising, and I want to improve. I want to get better. I want to heal.
Yeah, of course. I'm wondering, with that deep desire to heal, it sounds as though that has really increased for you, knowing that you've received something and it could just keep getting better.
Yeah. It's hard to explain. I'm kind of like stuck in limbo right now. I was given something, and I want to see what else it can do.
I'm wondering, going back to the time when you were at Shirley Ryan in this process, were there moments in the process that surprised you, either in your emotional response or this desire that you've just expressed? Was it there all along, or did it change, or any surprises around your own body's response? Anything of that nature that you might share?
So, they say that your surroundings and what you have around you are very important. And thanks to Wally and his wheelchair, I was able to get out to places. We were, close to Lake Michigan, so I was able to go out to Lake Michigan. It was summertime. It's always a nice breeze. It was never too hot. And I would go out by the lake, and there was a lookout spot by the lake, and there was a big long railing. And so what I started doing is, as many days as possible, I would go there, or I would go down by the Chicago River where there was a railing, and I would stand up and I would grab the railing with one hand, and I would say, okay, I'm gonna walk it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and just practice walking and just keep positivity, saying, I'm receiving the drug. It's helping me. It's healing me. I'm going to get better. And, just taking everything in, the sights, and, just enjoying where I was and what was going on. And, who knows? Maybe it contributed to the power of positive healing. I don't know, but,
well, exactly. I mean, here you are, somebody who had already known about yourself how important nature was to you, and relying on that resource during those 4 months. And positive affirmations. We've actually had some remarkable guests here on the podcast around positive affirmations for healing. And, for those who might not know, and perhaps Larry, this might be of interest to you, there's a Japanese scientist who did some amazing experiments with polluted water, having, as well as seedlings of plants, and having, one group of people, positive affirmations about this water is beautiful and clear and sparkly and pure and potable. We could drink it. And then another group is like, it's crappy, it's awful, it stinks, it's gonna give you dysentery. And as well with seedlings, you're such a beautiful little seedling for days and days on end. And then of course the other with the seedling, you're a scrawny thing. You're never going to amount to anything. You're probably never going to yield fruit. You're nothing. And indeed, all through humans articulating and thinking either these negative things or these positive things. Of course, you know what I'm about to share with you. It too is quite profound. A very polluted body of water began to show under microscopes these beautiful microscopic changes that looked like snowflakes, like pure. It was happening in the water. And of the corn seedlings, one stalk grew strong and beautiful and green, and the other never materialized. It stayed scrawny and shriveled. So you're pulling yourself up on that railing and saying to yourself every day what you did. I'm a believer. I believe it probably is going to continue to add to your healing, and it's very powerful, Larry. I'm wondering if you are a spiritual guy.
Absolutely, of course. I have heard of studies similar to what you spoke of, and I'm familiar with, the power of vibration and sound and thought, studies where people have, imbued water with, different characteristics. So yes, I am very spiritual.
Mm-hmm. Blink of an eye for us with the nonprofit. We're always asking recently entered families if they, believe in God or believe in divine source. And if they don't, it's perfectly, it's fine, but we have a group of believers, and whatever intention they have, we'll send it, to our prayer warriors. And it's really extraordinary. Most people do believe in something very divine. Many people will claim that it's God, but some don't. And even for those who don't, they have asked us to put their intentions out to our people. And because we're all connected, we tell them it's, nothing's ever, it's always just there as a resource. But I think it actually is something that could be studied in addition to the peptide that NervGen is showing has efficacy. It would be very curious.
Yeah, right.
To see, with some of those. Have half of the group, who said, it's only me doing this, working hard and taking these electrical shocks at the beginning just to get into this damn trial. Versus the others that were like grateful every day and, thanking divine source and God every day for this experience. That would be an interesting trial, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. A little bit of Clockwork Orange in there.
You think? I realize that you have been very active in chat groups and, as we begin to wind down, but I know the NervGen trial, NVG 291 has generated a lot of discussion in the SCI community, and I'm really appreciative of your humility in saying, so many questions have been asked of you and you just don't have the answers. I am wondering, emotionally or psychically, spiritually, what's your experience now knowing that you are part of something that's garnering this kind of attention?
So, like you had mentioned, I've been on Reddit and many different Facebook groups. I wasn't shy about, mentioning my experience in the trial. And I have had so many people reach out to me from countries all around the world. They're all asking the same questions. So what I had done is, if anybody wants to go onto my Facebook, which is public, and read about my experience while I was there, I did a very extensive write-up of my experience from beginning to the end, many more details than we've discussed tonight. And I just tell them all, I say, look, you can add me as a friend, or if you just want to go to my, my profile, you can read about my full experience there, because it can sometimes get frustrating when you have 900 people ask the same questions, and my fingers don't work that well as it is, and typing and texting, and we all know that voice to text is really not all it's cracked up to be. So, I tell them, hey, just go read my profile. You can find out there, and some of them reach out a little bit more and touch base with me and chat with me, and I've actually, I befriended one guy. He wasn't even in the trial. Doesn't even have a spinal cord injury. He was just interested in NervGen, as, investing in their stock. And he and I became friends, and we've spoken for hours on the phone, just about life. So I've met a lot of different people, and, I can say this, that I'm going to continue sharing my experience and my growth. I've even bought one of those little phone holders that goes around your neck so I could start chronicling, working out and my improvements. And I want to keep sharing it with everybody and just try to help as many people as I can, because this is hope. This is hope for so many people. There's a lot of people out there that aren't being heard. And what we're trying to do here is get a lot of people to speak up and, say, hey, I'm interested in this, and I want to be involved, and I want to learn, and I want to heal. And, who else out there has something that can help people like us?
Yes, it's such a noble goal. And what an important contribution, Larry, that you are making with the real-time reporting that you are doing with the device around your neck, because I'm sure it will also be very useful to some scientists. And, we could end on this beautiful note that you've just shared with us, but I want to open up one thing that you just mentioned about all these quote unquote same questions that people from all over the world have been asking you. What are those same questions?
Did you receive the drug? Do you think it helped? What did it do for you? Do you think it's real? Do you think there's hope for people like us? What are my disabilities? What can I do now that I couldn't do before? And then they ask other questions such as, there's things I don't know. When is it coming to market? Who will receive it? How much is it going to cost? A lot of these things I don't know, and I still try to find out. And, if I do, I share with them. I had a group of probably about 7 or 8 people that live in Brazil decide to put me in a private group chat on WhatsApp, and they will reach out to me. And some of these people are very well informed. They do a lot of research, and they share things that they find out with me, whether it's with NervGen, maybe it's some other company somewhere else in the world. So it's all about connections and talking to people and learning. It's great.
It really is. I know from some of the others who were as courageous and noble as you to wish to contribute, that they were confused and devastated by some of the press that came out just very recently when NervGen released the report as if it were not efficacious, that it was a disappointment. And I have talked to a number of people who were in the trial, and it's the last thing those who are in the trial have said. And indeed, everyone has shown improvement, and especially, as you've just mentioned, in strength and in speed, as it relates to what you may have been able to do before. It's just stronger and stronger. And the hope, my goodness, there's no price tag on hope.
You're absolutely correct. Seems like hope is the only thing we have, and I think it's people like me and others that receive the drug and are showing improvements. We not only have hope ourselves, but are giving so many others hope that there is something out there, that it definitely does work. And I don't know why this drug received bad press. Maybe there were people out there that had complete injuries that thought this is going to heal everyone. And then they found out, well, for now it's working on incompletes, but, we haven't really found out anything beyond that yet. So I think it may have, the expectations were, the bar was held a little bit too high instead of just people thinking neutral and just waiting to see what this was all about.
Yeah, like true scientists. And, what we're finding for us at Blink of an Eye and another one of our partners, U2FP, is so many of the investors think that something that's successful in the spinal cord injury world is because people will walk again, and run a marathon or jump rope. And that's not at the top of the list for most people who are spinal cord injured. It's use of arms and hands. It's, then everything, bowel, bladder, sexual function is, anything. And it's like, that's the second category. And then walking is third. And so it perhaps was related to that, and to hear the improvements that you've made, not only though in your gait, but also with the use of your hands and what you're able to do. It's very heartwarming, promising. Of course, the science is now behind you. But we can't thank you enough for being a willing participant and going through all the hoops that you needed to go through to qualify. Thank you, Larry Williams. And I'm wondering if there's a last word that you might want to say to someone who's just heard about this research for the first time and is considering whether it's worth pursuing in the next round, which is the acute sub-cohort. And they have dropped the requirement for having an electrical impulse in the legs. They're just looking at with the arms. But what might you say to someone who might be interested and then potentially qualify for this research?
I would say, look at where you are right now, and I promise you that you have absolutely nothing to lose by putting your trust in NervGen. 110%. There is, in my experience, there is no risk of this drug, and it can only do good. And right now, if it is available to you, I would say jump on it. Don't hesitate. Run, don't walk.
Thank you, Larry, for your insights, your willingness, your candidness, and the hope that you inspire in me, and I'm certain in so many. Sending love to you.
Absolutely. And I thank you so much for your support, what you have done to help me through the trial, and for this interview. It was a very pleasurable experience.
Larry Williams gave us a first-hand look at what it means to be part of a bold new frontier in spinal cord injury recovery. And the story doesn't stop here. In our next episode, we'll continue this special series with another voice from inside the NervGen NVG 291 trial. It's part 2 of our look at groundbreaking nerve regeneration and the people living it. We hope you'll join us. Together, we are raising the vibration for healing. Life can change in the blink of an eye. See you next week when we talk with Leslie Fuller, another participant in the NVG 291 trials for those living 1 to 10 years with SCI. If you're not already subscribed to Blink of an Eye podcast, please do so wherever you stream your podcast. Just hit the subscribe or follow button. It's free. And tell your friends. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider a charitable donation in any amount to Blink of an Eye nonprofit at blinkofaneye.org. Your generosity helps us operate the only SCI Navigator support program for newly injured SCI families by SCI families in the country. We understand SCI trauma. Sending love. Life can change in the blink of an eye.
You've been listening to Blink of an Eye. We ask that you share this with anyone who may need inspiration, a lift, or who may relate. Never miss an episode. Subscribe to Blink of an Eye on our website, blinkofaneyepodcast.com, on Apple Podcasts,